This is part 3 of a series on learning to work with the mind. And today is January 25th of 2025. So it's not even in the year that I intended to complete this series. But I'm choosing to just pause. It's 3:33 in Eastern time and capture some of the present moment. I made a choice in May or in April, actually, the month before the 5-year anniversary of Dan's death, to write. And that, this video is like for comedy and joy and sadness. So thank you for who's ever watching. I think about how for 5 years I was like, I'm just going to get to a place where things are going to be steady and good in me, and then I'll get back in the world. Like that has been this steady thought for so many years. And after I started training and coaching and realizing that uh, working with this part of my mind, I don't like to just call it depression. I don't like to just call it suffering, but an experience of suffering with my own mind. Um, After I began to realize this is not going away. This is actually an experience that has gifted me to connect more intimately with this part of myself. And even in training and coaching and learning embodiment work and learning grief work, not to say any of those have deadlines anyway, but they do move and they do help. And, watching myself learn so deeply and so much and open up so much and still continue to face um, the spirals that I face in their own intensity, I thought, I'm going to write about it. And I thought I was going to write about it in 4 weeks. And here we are 10 months later, 9 months later. Let's just go back for a sec. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. Yeah, so we're past having the baby. And I wrote the first one, Shedding Snakeskin, and it was such a relief in a way because I felt afraid to even write that. Then I made the second one, Maps to Our Creative Future. I'm laughing at myself because there's so much of me that feels the same way I did when I wrote those two and annoyed. I felt so resistant to write then. I felt so angry even when I was recording Maps to Create a Future. Now I'm mad too. And I'm just like, I don't want to friggin' do this. I don't want to. I'm a singer, I'm a dancer, I'm an artist, I'm a creator. And I just want to fucking make things that bring joy. Let me make things that bring joy. It's so much more fun. And there's like this other side that's just like, what is the fucking point of recording this? What is the point? What is the point? This is me not just talking to this pain in myself, but also to talking and writing and creating about something that you just so want to be done and over with. And I think that the reason that it's important for me to do this process of writing and creating these videos about this present moment experience in 2024 5 is that I am growing, I am changing. So much is growing, so much is changing, so much is coming forth. And it's hard. And I want to capture that because I want to capture it specifically because the stories that are so prominent right now are before and after stories. And before and after stories are really, really important when you're trying to sell something. And they're also, yeah, they're important when you're trying to sell. And the funny thing about a before and after story is that they do exist. And they are also just little pictures. They're just little segments. They're just little segments along the way. Because what's, in my opinion, really happening is that it's just before and after, and before and after, and before and after, and before and after. It's just deepening and deepening and deepening. And that I have a gift of writing and selling. And I will be able to write and sell a lot of beautiful things with my life. Uh, but my desire is to actually be felt and be known and be loved. And um, the work that I'm doing, it feels so deep that I can't usually talk about it with people. And there's embedded lies in that on the one hand, like, no, you could talk about it with people. But on the other hand, you actually can't. You really actually can't. And that is such a lonely process. And on the one hand, there's so many people going through mental health issues right now. Mental health in quotes, because we don't know another way to do, there's other ways to define it. Consciousness, awakenings, openings, spiritual changes, nervous system, healing trauma, getting unleashed. But what we don't have right now as a society is shared language around what the fuck is happening in these realms. So if you are a human who tries to speak about it, you put yourself up for the risk of being reduced and belittled. And on the one hand, just sucks because it already is hard. It's already hard to go through what you're going through. And then on the other hand, you have people just walking away or not being able to be present to it. And with that, you also have boundaries, and the reality that people get to have boundaries, like 100% people get to have boundaries and um not understand, and also get to be in different places. There's so many different things that are just like, of course, I would never wish this on anyone. Of course, like for anyone who has chronic physical pain, I don't think any of them want anyone to know what it feels like. But for a moment, you do. For a moment, you really do wish that there was someone around who knew. And what I know about the fact that there are 8 billion people on the earth is that suffering comes in so many ways, so many forms. And collectively, we are also grappling with how to understand that and work on that and work on that in more unified ways. Um, and I'm able to laugh because I'm so fucking dedicated. I'm so dedicated to healing and to beauty. And I know that I won't be disappointed. I've been given so many visions and so many words and so many people and so much help that I feel like kind of for the first time in my life at 29, I truly know there's no going back and nowhere to go. And at the same time, also knowing there's no one to go to. And that doesn't mean there's no one to call. You know, I'm somebody who has a whole family. And I'm somebody who's learned that when you pray and when you ask for help, it comes. I'm also learning that mental suffering is not all of me. And we live in a world right now that's materialistic, so it makes sense that we're trying to solve mental suffering as if it could be solved like other physical issues. But mental suffering is like I'm an optimist and a creator and um capable, very capable of using this mind for things that this world values. But I don't think that mental suffering is I don't know that it's meant to be resolved. And that's one of the hardest things to work with. Is, feeling so crazy. And I can record this because I have lived through enough and I've met enough teachers and enough healers. And I've witnessed people change at drastic levels. And I know and believe that healing is possible at so many different levels, whether you're, claiming it as healing in physical pain or healing in certain kinds of mental pain or healing from not being able to act and participate in the world to being able to. Um, in community building and building bonds of family. But it's still intense. And when I say that, even as I say it now and choose to record it and choose to share it, it's like there's the parts of me that are like, can imagine someone who's not felt this or who is like an older version of me that's, or sometimes a current version of me who covers up this side because I gladly will put this away when it's not present. Um, or a version of me who's like picturing, once I've written more books or done more in the world, these videos getting located and be like, lock her up and put her away and put her in care, And it's like, put me in care all you fucking want. Like these psychiatric institutes don't have solutions for what I'm working on, which doesn't mean they have nothing. But anyway, I imagine people who on the other side, and maybe they're also just versions of me, but watching and being like, what the fuck is even happening? What is going on? Just a human. Put a smile on your face and get going. And also, yeah, like put her, put this person away. And it's not a solution. But the solution is so multifaceted that it will take, I believe, it will take time to really care for our whole beings. And I say that as someone who coaches people now and will continue to create a space of healing. I say that as someone who is I say that as someone whose own relationship to this quality of pain informs. every single space that I host. And I say this as someone who's acknowledging that what has been broken open for me in Dan's death is nothing to do with just him, but it also cannot be separated from him. And the reason that I laugh as I share is because I have been grounded now with so much knowing, so much love and grace, and knowing that there's another side always, that every experience of pain has another side. Whether you're going to experience it in this lifetime or another, or whether you're going to experience it in a different plane, like emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. If you're suffering on one plane, I believe you get freedom in another. And there's something about my mental suffering that creates freedom for me. And I don't know, creating, because I'm not afraid of anything out there. The demons for me are here. And that's not true for everyone. I don't think a lot of inner teachers like will say that everything is rooted here, but we're also living in a world that does not protect the basic bodies of majority of the humans. So whose governing structures don't. So it's not all in your head. It's not all inside of you. And one of the strangest things about choosing to record these videos and write these articles in this way is, again, it's not that I have no one to call. There's people, there's human bodies around. But the place that I'm talking about is internal. And I don't know if it's going to be that in future we have like what's the equivalent of like churches or hospitals today, but more available spaces to different than just group therapy, but like places to really work on the mind when you need to. My hope too is that we have like different kinds of dialogue because we can't just offload each other onto each other in these spaces. As mean as that sounds, like it is important that we differentiate when you're in a deep state, let's call it, from a, a more available one. The more sophisticated you get at this, in my opinion, the more you're able to go from deep state to being back in a socialized world. But that takes a lot of practice. It takes time. I'm able to like work with these states much quicker now because I have more support from people. But I, as someone spoke to me yesterday, it's not to say that they'll go away. And that could look totally different for someone else. And I will forever, until the day I die, work on how to relate to the mind in new ways and relate together differently with humans. And I'm open toward this entire experience being transmuted or transformed. But part of it is acceptance of the way that it shows up and not covering it up. And my hope in talking about this for myself is to remember, and for others is to invite inquiry. And for teachers and healers and practitioners right now to invite humility, because there's so much pride in every single space that I have studied. There's so much pride and so much attachment to the models being created because that teacher, that experiencer has been healed through that model. And the most challenging thing is we're endlessly diverse and growing up in different times. And you are the experiencer of that model. And just because you experienced liberation and freedom through that experience does not mean it will work for everyone. And we need variety and variation. And we need to learn how to more explicitly speak the biases of the tools that we're using. We need to more explicitly speak the boundaries of them, what they're here for and what they're not. And this is a very complex thing as people who believe in a scientific process that is uniform, because in other dimensions of psychological work, or sorry, scientific work, like you can test in a different way, but testing with the human mind and grasping things from the human mind and the human experience, that's not, it's going to require, and it does require a different science. And to have that different science is going to require a different heart. And to have a different heart is going to require openness. That's why I can laugh. Because it's not about me alone. But I am a researcher in this, and I'm willing to speak it now. Thank goodness that since I started this, Source Universe, Divinity brought me some people who are thinking differently and feeling differently and living differently. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful that they're all different from each other too. And we do not all get along. But I think it's just, I woke up this week and I was thinking about how for the new year, the whole new year, I've been struggling to get out of bed in the morning still. And it's been the most creative and productive time I've gone through. I'm thinking about how from October until the end of December, I was crying and in pain every single day. And it's also the most that I've ever brought forth. I was activated though. I was activated. I got in touch with somebody who reminded me that this space exists, that there are people who are thinking about it differently and speaking about it differently. And it's so challenging to be in this space of psycho-spiritual too, because you're like, do I study in formal academia where the spiritual realm and dimensions are not really going to be acknowledged? Do I study with one of the traditional places in Chinese medicine or yoga? And I'm studying in both and have at different times. And they also have their own models and, ways of doing things too. And, do I study the mind without the social? Which is a no, you can't. But then also you have to study the mind itself. What does validity look like in this field when we want institutions to regulate, but it's not really that easy to regulate? The coaching industry exists, and then you have a very sad situation of people selling models that have mediocre results. And I don't mean to speak it like that, because there's so many wonderful coaches too, but there's so much selling of things that are untested and have no, like validity around how they work for who. No HR, no support systems. Even for me learning online, and learning and not having support systems around me, it's like, thank God I'm a fucking strong soul, but it's exhausting, it's tiring. It's a gift. It's amazing. It's amazing to be alive at a time where we're discovering. It's amazing to be alive at a time where we're differentiating. It's amazing to be alive at a time where you can speak to the ether and be heard. It's amazing. We're at a time where people can read my words, discover them, and write to me, write to me years later, telling me that what I wrote resonated. It's amazing to live at a time we can be discovering each other. It's amazing to live at a time we are translating and understanding new texts. It's amazing to live at a time things are going to change so fast and are changing so much faster than we're even aware of, and our processes can't keep up with. It's amazing that we're starting to realize how much our mind and our perception informs everything else. It's amazing to be questioning the roots and the validity. It's amazing to have institutions of regulation that check things. And It's challenging to live at a time where all those things are changing and you can't even keep up with them and the discourse around you. You don't even know where to begin. It's like, I feel so blessed. I want to make this video too because it's been so hard. And I feel so blessed to like, I'm a person with the privilege. I've gotten to live home. I've gotten to move home during this time. I've gotten to have support from people. I've gotten to study and immerse myself in teachings about the body and sexuality and pleasure and joy and and I've chosen also to withdraw from certain other places of work so that I can keep deepening on this because if I'm gonna have to stay on this fucking planet, I'm not gonna keep up with the way things are already going. But pulling myself out of the way the system exists gives me the opportunity to think in brand new ways that when you're living and getting paid by the system, you have to, it's challenging. It's challenging to think about the way everything is fucking working and also be a part of it. It's very, very hard to be in the water and seeing it at the same time. It's hard to feel like you don't know where to go. It's hard to feel like you don't know where to live. It's hard to feel like you don't like for as someone too who doesn't, who's part of my deconstruction of things is marriage and the way that love is talked about in the society. Like it's not to say it would fix it that things would be fixed if I had a partner, but there's so many times where I'm like, at least if I mean, I've gotten through this phase, but at least if I had a partner, I'd have one person there. I'm so grateful for how fucking strong I am. I'm so grateful for like literally choosing myself and knowing like there's no person who's gonna fucking fix this for me. It's not, there's so many beautiful people who've brought love into my life, but the longing is so much deeper. It's so much deeper than that. And if you are a person who suffers in this way, getting in partnership and allowing somebody to love you through this, because what even is this? It's complex. It's complex. It's not easy. It's not easy in friendship. It's not easy in love. And I'm somebody whose work is premised upon ease. I believe in ease. I believe we're being supported. I believe we're being cared for in every single moment for the last 5 years. From the moment that Dan died and I started praying for help, like I have been given help. There has been person after person after person. And if I am here having had a like big life experience that allowed me to get to talk about my mental health, that allowed my whole family to talk about mental health publicly, that had the privilege to get other tools, that has been open towards support and been getting support. And I'm struggling like this hard. I'm just like, my God, please help. Please help. Please help. Please help us stay humble. Please help us stay connected. Please help us stay listening. Please help us stay forgiving. Please help us stay open. Thank you to all the people who are walking right now not free on a physical level. And to all the people who are walking not free also on a mental level, on an emotional level, on a spiritual level. We choose to see. We choose to see. We choose to see. We choose to see they are connected. All of the issues are connected. And we choose to see solutions. And the work that's going to come to us is not going to come in the methods that we know. It's not going to come in the language that we know. It's not going to come in the plans from our heads. Please teach us. Please teach us how to work with heart, with source, with spirit, and with logic, because I will not go without any of them. Please teach us how to find each other in this because it's hard. It feels hard. The layers of our bodies and our beings, and all they've endured. Thank you. Thank you for getting us till now. I ask for help to hold the complexity, to release the need to hold it. I ask for the courage to keep going. I ask for the courage to feel. I ask for the courage to teach. I ask for the support. There are things that need to be unearthed. There are things that need to be rediscovered. There's things that need to be uncovered. And I'm aware that the word need is interesting because as coaches, many of us say, don't shit on yourself. And I don't want to shit on our collective and our collective being either, but we have needs here that are not being addressed. And they're not being addressed because they literally weren't needs at different times. It's not to say that different cultures and societies did not have psychological breakdown, but they were not living at the time we're living in. There are many reasons for this moment, and there are many people who are living in homes right now who are being told that what's happening is not real. And then even if you discover that it's real, you're being sent to hospitals. And I do not reduce the power of a hospital, but Dan was hospitalized and he was medicated. And I'm so grateful that those things happen so that there cannot be a story lingering here that if only he was medicated and if only he was hospitalized, things would look different. I honor my fellow psychiatrists, psychologists, and therapists. I honor past researchers. I honor past psychologists. I honor past philosophers in the mind. And we welcome a new age of spiritual mental philosophy. We ask for the courage to build at this time. We ask for the courage to deconstruct. We ask for the courage to heal. We ask for the courage to do this together. We ask for the courage to be quiet, to listen, and to receive. We will not be able to do this without receiving. Thank you to my body, who's so sensitive. Thank you. I see you now as teacher. I see you now as guide. And learning to discern what is just has trauma, what is fear, what is guidance, what is intuition, learning to discern what needs to be learned in a book, what needs to be learned embodied, learning to discern who to talk to and who not to talk to. It's, I've been given so much privilege and so much help and such ability to communicate and such ability to speak. I've been given so much care and so much love. I've been given so much support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's still so hard. It has been. I'm willing to speak that past tense. I will always speak it past tense. It has been hard. It has been challenging because I'm not attached. I'm not attached to staying in this experience with my mind. I have felt it change. It has changed. It has changed so radically and so amazingly. Whole new things have opened up. I wouldn't be able to record this if whole new areas of working with the mind hadn't opened up. It's such a beautiful space. It's such a possible space. And it's such a big space. We're going to be working on something so big that we don't have a map for, that we don't have language for, that we don't have agreement on, and where you feel like you're actually going crazy, and the one space that you need to get anything done in a society that if you don't get things done, you don't get to make money and you don't get to be supported, will make anyone not actually work on the mind. Because if there's not room to psychologically break down, if there's not safety to psychologically break down, like if you can't psychologically break down without losing your finances and losing your support system of work, you won't. Which just means you'll implode personally. I mean, not everyone is going through the same stuff, but that's you will stay a robot. And this is where the gender stuff matters, because part of being in a woman's body is that there's less shame in my breakdown. There's less shame in filming a video crying. There's less shame in being supported by men. There's less shame in moving home. And it is not equal for men to do that. It is not equal for men to break down. It's not equal for even, let's look at love. Like the stories that we have about men, if you are not a financial provider, are strong. So if you cannot work on your mind, if giving up your mind, sorry, if working on your mind is going to make you end up giving up your job, you're going to choose not to give up, not to work on your mind because you need that job so that you can even have love. You see the loops here? And that's not fair. That's not fair. And it's not just. And it's not fun. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to have fun. So my soul's gonna make me cry and make me be in pain until I can work on this. Thank you, soul. Thank you, heart. Thank you, mind. Thank you. Not as easy as just letting the cycle come through. It's not as easy as just coming to one session. It's not as easy as doing 2 years of training. It's not as easy as a retreat. And every single one of those things have supported me and helped me and cleared me, and they matter. And what I'm asking of people watching or moving through in their own experiences is to remember us. That this is not just about you. To your demons, to the voices in your head, to heartbreak, to mental pain, spiritual pain, this is not about you alone. Yet it's so personal. It's also not about you. I don't know how to come together. I'm somebody who has actively pushed out people in my life who are going through depressive states. I'm somebody who actively removes myself from situations when I'm in depressive states. So I do not come here with solutions. I love coaching because there's boundaries, and I do believe there's a lot of boundaries that's going to be needed to work on this. But we are also going to need vision for boundaries that are invisible, which we don't even honor boundaries that are physical right now on this earth, let alone mental. If we honored what physical boundaries were, we would not be engaged in the systems of capitalism as they are currently carried out. We would not be in the systems of war, domination, colonization as they are currently carried out. So we don't even know in the year 2025 what a fucking physical boundary is with our fellow humanity. It's going to be a little while until we learn what mental boundaries are, spiritual boundaries are, energetic boundaries are. And I'm not here to sit and say, I know. exactly what that is or what that looks like, but I am here to speak that it's connected. And maybe we're going to have to learn that side in order to figure out the physical. And so when people are so quick to say, well, you have mental issues, you live in XYZ part of the world, or you live in this community, or you have access to these resources, or why would he kill himself? He just went to Italy, which was actually a sentence said to me. Which, by the way, Italy was the place he was having a breakdown and texting me. Again, willing to laugh because we're all fucking in this. When we do that, when we say, like, because you are not going through that, you shouldn't feel this. We're missing a lot of things. We're missing something. We're missing that the issues are completely linked. And also the quality of what is weight, mental weight. There's a quote, with great power comes great responsibility from Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. If we are truly empowered as people, we will shift in the way that we respond. The last time I checked, the countries who have the most power in money, resources, and the capacity to force people to do what they want are not being very responsible. They're being reactive in the most childish ways. So if we are not going to be waiting, if we're not going to be, first of all, submitting to that vision of power, and we're also not going to be waiting and anyone else to start living that quality of power, then we are going to have to learn to be responsible, which includes to ourselves and includes compassion and grace to those who are suffering at every single level. Patience in the process. And the last thing I will say is, with great love comes great possibility. It's my desire not to love this part of myself. It's my desire not to love this part of myself. It's my desire to love this part of myself. That's not easy for me to say. It's so much easier to say, it's my desire not to love this part of myself. I don't like this part of myself. It's hurting me. It feels like it's hurting me. It feels painful. It feels painful, though, and it feels uncomfortable, is in fact different than it's hurting me, because there's other things that are actively hurting me on this planet. Me being in pain mentally is not the worst thing. Me being disconnected from love, even of this pain, is the thing that will actually keep me from possibility. And I came here for possibility. I came here for fun, and I came here for magic. Thank you for sitting with me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for allowing the cycles of this human to be witnessed. Please, 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 please explore more of the world of who you are when you feel that you have some support systems to do so. Please be open to a prayer that there are support systems for you. Please open to a vision that we can be different support systems for each other. Please allow yourself to believe that the process of supporting people and supporting the parts of yourself that are most isolated, most traumatized, and most hurt is going to look different and is going to come about differently than anything we've ever done, and actually potentially be fun, potentially be joyful. And I also encourage you to practice saying thank you. so much easier to say, why? 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 And that's not our part to know yet.